Hi, welcome back. My name is Srikanth. Today's session is the third one in the SAC planning series. In today's session, we're going to talk about a detailed explanation on dimensions and also the properties of those dimensions. We're going to look at some sample data and some of the properties, how they've been added and how they've been loaded in SAC planning dimensions. And we're also looking at hierarchies, both level hierarchies and also parent-child hierarchies in the dimensions and how they're going to be loaded or created as well. For today's session, I'm not planning to load the data from a flat file. If you want, you can do, but I wanted to use the existing sample planning model that is already available for us as part of the trial instance. The one on the screen, this picture, is the sample sales planning model. This comes up with the default installation or the trial server that is available for you. So you can use it and make a copy of it and then start using it and make changes to the copied model. I'm going to show you how this standard or the demo content available for us in SSC planning instance. The sample model is available in this path. So you can see the path in this picture. It's in My Files, Public, SAP Samples, and the folder name called Sample Planning. So I'm going to navigate to this folder in SSC. I'm in Public. I'm going to choose SAP Samples. And I get a folder here, and I can see the planning model as well as a default story, a sample story available for us to use. Let's take a look at the model and how this is being available or created for us. This model has several dimensions. You can see there is a product, customer, a sales organ entity, and they are different types of dimensions. And also you got version and date. You can also see the number, some numbers here. These numbers represent the members of those dimensions. So this is preloaded. So we have a model readily available for us to use. We don't have to load or prepare an Excel spreadsheet to get started with some sample data. The numbers represent the members, and also the next icon represents the hierarchy. So if you don't see anything here, it doesn't have any hierarchy. You can see there are 4 hierarchies. So you can choose one of those hierarchies for the product dimension. And for customer, sales org, and entity, there is one hierarchy available in each of those dimensions. I'm going to get into each dimension and show you how the data is available in those dimensions. Let's take a look at the version dimension first and click on that and then go into the dimension table. You can see 4 members: actual, budget, forecast, and plan. There are different versions of the planning model, and we always start with actuals, taking from any source system or flat file or any source systems like BW or S4 or even BPC as well. And then we copy that to a forecast version or plan version, and then we make the changes accordingly with several planning actions, which are going to be data actions in SAC planning. We're going to see those detailed planning functions or actions in the next few sessions. I'm going to go back to the we get a detailed course on version management, how we're going to work in private versions first and then make those versions as public. The version management is something unique or new in SAC planning, which was not there in the past. It was there in the past in SAP BPC as well, but the private and public version management control is something unique and specific to SSC planning. So we're going to go through that version management in the next session. Let's go back to the model again and go to the other dimension. This session more focusing on the version management. Sorry, the dimensions, different dimensions and the data in it and different hierarchies, how they've been created and how they are loaded and how we are going to use these dimensions and model for our next sessions as the starting point. Okay, I'm going to go into the date dimension. It is another mandatory dimension that you must have. So you can also see there is no account dimension. We're purposefully avoiding the account dimension because we don't need it here. We have several measures. So it's a measure-based model, a sales planning model. When it gets to the exercises of having measure plus account model, I'm going to add that account model or account dimension, and then we go and understand that particular scenario in detail. So for several sessions at least, we're going to see measure-based model a lot. So going to see the date dimension. So here I'm going into the date dimension to see the members. So the configuration, you can see it is going to be from 2018 to 2030. So it's at least um, 12 years of data. And the granularity we define, or it is defined in the standard or sample dimension, is month. So get the data stored in monthly um, month level. So you can see all the months from 2018 to 2013 are going to be there in the time dimension or the date dimension, you can call. Okay, then I will go back to the other dimensions. If you wanted, you can change or expand more on the time dimension. You can have 2050 as well. So it gets a lot more wider range, or you can just have 2 or 3 years of data, which is restricted to your planning range as well. But it's up to you. It's just not going to hurt you having more there in the date dimension if you're planning at the month or the granularity is at the month. The next one is in the list is product. You got 28 items in this or members in this product dimension. It's going to select this dimension table and see the data, how this is going to look like. So you can see there are different properties also you have for product dimension. And you can also add more properties to it. As I said before, there are multiple hierarchies, 4 hierarchies defined for this um, product dimension as a H1 and H2, 3, and roll up. So you can see a star here that represents it's the H1 is taken as a default hierarchy. You can make the other hierarchy as default by doing a set, and you can also change the hierarchies by going into the edit. So the description of the hierarchy. So you wanted to see how this hierarchy is defined. The parent-child hierarchy is defined. You can just also go into the tabular format. You can see the H1 is containing all these values. So this is how it gets rolled up if you choose H1. So the parent for these products going to be this one, and you also see this MTN being coming as member, and the parent for the MTN GMTN is going to be total. So this way the hierarchy roll up happens. You may have 1 or 2 or 3 levels depending on your parent-child relationship between your member ID to your hierarchy H1. Same applies to H2 and H3 and as well as roll up. So you can choose one of those hierarchies as your default hierarchy, and then you can play around with these hierarchies when you are reporting or actually planning in SAC model or an SAC story for that. So we will look into hierarchy-based planning in the upcoming sessions. In this session, I'm just getting you some feel about having members and hierarchies and properties in a dimension. So if you wanted to create a new hierarchy, you can also do that. You can also create properties. Properties are like an additional columns, and you can also create a hierarchy here. So you can name it something like I can say H4, and the description says my test hierarchy. I'm not going to save it anyway. I'm going to do a simple so you can see a test hierarchy coming up here, and you can provide the mapping to this test hierarchy with the parent-child relation to your member ID. Okay, that's about the creating a parent-child hierarchy by adding another hierarchy node or hierarchy column to it. You can also create a property. Properties are just attributes. They're not really have to be a hierarchy. It can be product type, product group, or something like that. We're going to create some properties in our custom planning model instead of the standard one. So I'm not going to really use the standard one because it's going to get changed. If you start using the sample standard one, it will keep changing according to the version changes. So I'm going to go back. So it's still showing fifth because I'm not going to save this model so that it wouldn't come here, or I can go and delete it. So it's going to be easy for me to have that cleanup. So I'm going to go to the grid, and then I can choose my test hierarchy and say delete. Say okay. It's going to delete my hierarchy from the master data or dimension data of the product. So I'm going to go back, and then I have 4 hierarchies. You can see the customer hierarchy has just one. Let's take a look at this customer hierarchy because it's different than the product hierarchy. So take a look at the data in the customer dimension. This represents a dimension. This little flower symbol present dimension. So you can see this is here having a level hierarchy. So it's going to have standard levels L1, L2, and L3. It's not a parent-child hierarchy that it's going to represent in one column where member ID belongs to a parent and parent becomes another child to the another parent, etc., until it gets the root node roll up. But level-based hierarchies are standard hierarchies, and in L1 you're always going to have this value in that, and then you can see these values in L2 all the time, and L3 gets to these values. These are node values than your actual member values, right? That is the difference between your parent-child hierarchy and the level hierarchy. So how you can check how they're going to look like here. So you can see the 3 levels, L1, L2, L3 defined, and then there's a hierarchy defined for the level-based hierarchy. So you wanted to see how this has been created, just take into the grid view. Sorry, go into the edit. So you can see the hierarchy for the levels L1, L2, L3, and the bottom actual members are going to be in here. So you define L1, L2, L3 are the different columns first, and then you prepare the levels for hierarchy for those 3 levels, L1, L2, L3. And you can also create a new hierarchy which can have only just 2 levels based on L1 and L2. That's going to be, you can say, create hierarchy, and then you can define the hierarchy to this member, saying, okay, I want L1 and L2 only. So you can prepare that by getting the L1 and L1 and L2 there. Okay, so that's very simple to define a hierarchy of level in the level-based hierarchy. So I'm just going to cancel it. And the way you define those L1, L2, L3, so you can add properties here. It's because it's not a parent-child hierarchy. You're just going to have more properties. You can also have L4 and define what is going to be your L4, and then assign the members to the L4 as well in case if you wanted to have another node. But I'm fine with these 3 levels of hierarchies. I'm going to go back to the previous screen and then go into the other dimension. In sales org and entity dimensions, just having another one dimension, you can quickly take a look at those dimension, but they are just like the other parent child hierarchies. So you can see it's nothing different or significantly changed in the sales org hierarchy. It's just that you've got a different properties here. You could have a currency property added. It's a system property. We're going to see this is in currency conversion and etc. different areas. You also have an entity properties being added. So you want to take a look at the data for entity and also currencies represent for each member of the sales org. It's like a company code currency thing in BPC. And then finally, we have an entity. It's optional. Wanted in the previous one, you have seen 8 members for sales org, but you can the entity also you have organization dimension. You can see there is a currency and also country property given. So basically, these entity dimension represents a country. It's very identical to your sales org dimension, but it's not exactly the same. So that's why you probably see these entities defined in sales org dimension as a properties. Okay, as a property. So that's how the standard sample model gives you the dimensions, and you have some measures like quantity and gross sales, and there are some calculations as well. So we're not really focusing on how these calculations are defined here at this time, because we are not there to understand how we're going to create a calculation. For example, net sales is a calculation based on gross sales minus discounts. And the use of this net sales going to be seamless across wherever this model is being going to be used, and it can be based on a dimension also. You can also use the dimension associated to this measures while you're doing the calculation, but we're not there to understand these calculations yet. We're going to cover this topic in a detailed session later. So go back to the model structure. You can see this in a I'm going to switch on the switch off the details. So I don't need it now. I'm going to switch to the graph so you can see the model, how this is going to look like with all the dimensions for the measures. Switch back to the list again. And also I'm going to check the data management. So we're not worried about data management here because we already have the data uploaded once by SAP. So if you wanted to try it again, it's going to give you an error because this is a flat file data. SAP brought it in for us to start. We don't really have to do. We have already seen how the export process, or actually, sorry, the import process works in SAC planning. We in the previous session. So we took a flat file with some sample data and we uploaded into SAS or imported into SAC planning model. So we're not really going to do that again and again because that's not something really required, because we already have the data available for us preloaded by SAP. So this is um, a good thing for us to start working. Okay, go back to model structure. So that's it. My model is being completely available for us to start working. I can also show you the sample mode story that is given by SAP. So this is, we're not going to spend any more time on the, or a lot of time on this standard planning model or forecasting model, sorry, story, but we will come to this, come to a point where we can define our story, something very close or similar to this one. So that's going to be our objective, to have a story created with all the planning hierarchies. You can see the time dimensions, hierarchies, actuals, budgets, and forecast as well. So that is going to be our with the products coming in the left side panel, a kind of a filter panel or something like that. So we will come to this stage where when we grow, when we learn more topics on this planning. Similarly, there are several other uh, standard sample applications or models you can see here. Got procurement, invoice, sourcing, purchase orders, invoice, contract, and all these. And the data available for these planning models in the sample models, you can navigate to the public and models and find them. And these represent certain business scenarios for us. So with these business scenarios, you can do um, the integrated planning or as the module planning in a efficient way or easier way. Okay, now what we should do is to create a copy of our planning model. So I'm going to create a copy. So select this sample model and just say copy to. I'm going to copy this to um, my folder, or actually it's in here, and I'm going to put this here. I can call my sales planning. Going to name this as SAP sample, but I'm going to put my sales planning model. I wanted to include the data as well. So just make sure that you have the checkbox selected and say, okay. So now we're not going to work on the previous model that we created in the previous session. That's good enough to start understanding the import process, but we're going to focus more on this model. Okay, a model has been copied. I'm going to switch back to the model in my folder. And I can see that this model is being equipped with the sufficient members and also the dimensions in it. If I don't want certain measures, I can remove them and start making my changes from there. But I just wanted to uh, remove those calculations because I don't need it this time. And also, if I don't need the discounts and other measures, I'm going to remove them and start working with my own measures and calculations going forward. Okay, let's take a look at the data on the model that I created just now. So for that, I'm going to create a new story. We'll go back and start creating a new story here. I'm going to put it in Canvas page, design experience. Right there, I will bring in a table, existing model, and pick the recent model that I created or copied from channel model, my sales planning. So by default, there are certain filters applied. So I'm going to, I choose the reporting currency as USD. I'll tell you why, because this is taken in the settings of the model. We'll switch back to the model settings and choose and see what was selected for the currency, but we're going to see more in detail about choosing a currency for a model, and it is used for a currency conversion process as well. So I'm going to remove certain current by default discount is chosen. I don't think we have data for discount. I'm going to choose gross sales, and that's it. And then if you want it, I can choose quantity also, but I'm good with gross sales. Say okay, and then the actual version is in there, or I wanted to make more versions like forecast, for example. So in that case, I'm not really going to have a filter on actuals only. I can put forecast and budget as well, both. So you can see those numbers coming in. The budget represents a different bar icon, and the forecast is another crossed line bar that you can see, and then actual is filled in line. So this is how different measures represent in SAC planning story to understand that the, the significance better. Okay, you can add dimensions to it. You can add, for example, add customer. You can also bring in hierarchy. If you don't want hierarchy, you can put it in as a flat representation, but by default, it is going to choose you the hierarchy. So you can see this is a level-based hierarchy. I remember total is being the level 1, level 2, and level 3, and all your level 3s are here. There is no uh, uh, node or any member associated here. This is why you can see all these 3 levels, or you can also switch back to the flat hierarchy instead of hierarchy. You can choose to say, okay, hierarchy, and then choose instead of H1, you can say flat representation, which gets you the members itself, not the hierarchy. Or you can choose between different hierarchies as well. So you see, these are all the members, the So you don't see the member ID. You wanted to see the ID, you can show that, but by default it always shows the description. The display option, it's by description. You wanted to choose the ID, you see the IDs here. So that's how you can. It is not something new for or different for planning. It is these property changes are very normal. I'm not really going into these properties for a rows and columns because this is part of SAC application mode, story creation and story analysis as well. So we're not going into those details of hierarchy representation here because it's the same for analytics and planning. But we will focus more on how these hierarchies are going to be related for planning in the later topics. Okay, I'm going to save this story. Okay, I'm going to name this as my sales sales analysis. Okay, and then say okay. So I got a new story created, something like. So now I'm going to work on having um, different capabilities of planning, like version management, data actions, and etc. on this model, and also create some new stories accordingly in the upcoming sessions. That's all for today's session. You can follow this channel to get the new session update when I publish. Thank you. Bye for now.